I'm having my one.
Welcome to episode 80 of the Board Game Podcast. I'm having my one. My name is Tom, and I'm joined by Paul. How are you, Paul? It's pretty hot, isn't it?
It's so hot,
I'm so
absolutely
sweaty. It's
melting.
just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. We are recording this on one of the hottest days of the year in the UK. Nothing stops. I'm having my one, not even ridiculous heat waves. This is one of our shorter episodes where we'll be talking about War Story, Occupied France from Osprey Games. So without further ado, let's get into it. War Story Occupied France came out in late 2024, published by the nearly always excellent Osprey Games. And we'll maybe go into that nearly always one day. And designed by Dave Neale and friend of the pod, David Thompson. The game is a solo or cooperative adventure set in German occupied France during the Second World War, as you may have guessed. The game is very much a choose your own adventure style game. So we're going to have to carefully tread around any spoilers as we talk about this game on today's episode. As one of the joys of this type is discovering how the plot unfolds based on the decisions that you're making. So that feels like a place for us to dive in, Paul. And just say quickly, there are three missions in this box. We played the first mission independently, then played the second and third together over Zoom. And the story that you're weaving your way through those missions is really great, right? And it gets quite tense at times as well.
Yes, and maybe later on we'll talk about Mission Zero as well, which I've played, but I'm
Yes.
not quite sure if
I
you've
didn't
got.
actually play. No, I forgot and went straight into one. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what a choose your own adventure style of game is, can you just talk us through what it is, how it all works?
So I guess the most famous one is the Ian Livingstone Warlocks of Firetop Mountain.
Mhm.
Um, but so many in that genre have been out, which is you read an excerpt from a story and then it will give you choices, and traditionally because you've got a book you then turn to a different page in the book, so you don't read it I don't even know why I started that. Can you have a go at that word for me?
Chronologically,
Yeah, that.
chronologically,
Um, Instead of that, you're kind of jumping forward and back, and sometimes there are monsters and combat to be rolled in the traditional books, and they'll use dice. Or I think in some books I used growing up, it was even just flick to a random page, and they just had random numbers dotted in the
right?
corners of the page um, for your combat rolls. So that's kind of how, and you'd go through the mission and especially the Ian Livingstone books, you would probably die about 12 times before you finally completed it. But replayability, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So so that's choose your own adventure, and then War Story takes that theme and drops you into occupied France and pads it out into a very well-rounded board game, I think.
Right, and it has that thing where you will. There's sort of two halves of it, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
want to talk us through a little bit of Mission Zero and what Mission Zero is in a second, but you have two types of situation in the game, right? You're either following the story as you're going through, and you'll turn to different pages based around some cards that are played. So you'll have a little map, and there'll be locations that can go to from a deck of cards. Again, won't go into those in too much detail. Uh, and you'll go around, you make your choices, and there's skill checks that we'll come back and talk about a bit more later. The other half of it is what it calls the encounters, right, which is a bit more of like your battle, I suppose, that you'd have, which are mostly a battle, but we're sneaking around, we're sneaky secret agents here, so it's not all about fighting. There's a little bit of what choices you make as to where you put different people to
Yeah,
do
and
these kind of
you
things.
gain information throughout those missions, don't you?
Yeah,
And then when you get to, you might have some midway encounters, but essentially there's a usually a final encounter, and the choices you have made leading up to that will affect how easy it is to then complete that. But even then, you might choose where to place your agents, and
Yeah.
they might end up in actually rubbish positions, not doing anything.
And
Um,
maybe that's a good time to just quickly talk about the character cards that you have, right? It starts every mission. I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, really. Every mission you have or at the very beginning of the missions, you have a set of characters that you can choose. And I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say some of those characters might not get through the entire campaign, but they all have different abilities that will suit different missions better. And I think this is always one of the things that I always find quite difficult about this is trying to anticipate from the little bit of blurb that you've had in the intro to that mission, what sort of skills am I going to need? You think very traditional setup for these kind of things with characters with different skills as you try and have a kind of as level a playing field as possible. But I swear that I did that uh, definitely in the first mission, then didn't use that skill basically at all, one particular skill basically at all. But anyway, talk us through mission zero, what that is, why we can talk about it, and a little bit of then, if you don't mind expanding on how that goes. So I don't think that's too much of a spoiler for reasons that will become
no,
obvious.
although actually Mission Zero still has quite a good story. But for those of you that are maybe interested in war story but aren't quite convinced that through the through the Osprey website, it is the heat,
It's very
people. I
hot.
cannot talk tonight. I'm just slowly melting in my chair. Um, through the Osprey website, you can download pretty much everything you need to play a mission of War Story without purchasing the game. Um, there are a few things like cubes and tokens, you could proxy those. I mean, I recommend getting the game and playing Mission Zero and then playing through the three in the book. But yes, there is a print and play option available, or you could guess do it digitally on your laptop if you're a bit more techie than I am. Um, I just had bits of paper everywhere. Um, but that works out it, and it follows a similar story. You get some agents you can use, which you don't then necessarily have to carry through into the further missions. So if they get wounded or injured, it's fine. It's just a little
Training mission, right? So
training mission. Yes,
yeah.
they've only been shot, but they'll be fine. They'll get better.
Walk it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but again, I don't want to give it. It's really hard. We've been back and forth whether we should talk about this for a while, haven't we?
yeah.
Because it's really hard to be like, oh, and and then we encountered this and we encountered that, and actually, I don't want to give away too many spoilers for Mission Zero, but it,
Right, but I think this is the thing that I think we want to get across in this review is that even from what you're talking about with Mission Zero there is a lot of excitement. There's stuff you don't want to spoil because you want somebody else to see it. It's not just a bland mission. These guys have written this incredibly well to have lots of exciting moments. And I remember during the time that we were playing, which worked really well, incidentally, that just playing it over Zoom as listeners to the podcast or regular listeners, I should say, no, Paul and I don't live particularly near to each other, so we play games a lot online. And this way of doing it, Zoom, almost pandemic style, as in the
yeah,
pandemic style, worked quite well for this, didn't it?
fantastic.
But I remember during that second and third mission that we did together, particularly, we've done more recently, a real sense of excitement and threat and feeling like, oh, what is the right decision to make all the way through this? And very difficult to play probably if you're someone who really struggles to make those A or B decisions. But that's brilliant from just this very analog flicking to the right page in the book to get to the next entry that you're reading, to have that sense of excitement from that. It's great. And I think that's part of it, though, right? Is because they sensibly, you don't just go, okay, entry 110, now entry 111 or
Yeah,
12. Right? Is that sensibly, so you don't spoil it for yourself or anything like that. They have you bouncing from one end of the book to the other. I stupidly don't have it on me at the moment, so I don't actually know how many entries they've got. But it felt like there were a lot of entries in there, and so as you're flicking
500
through,
plus.
500, right? Okay, and in each book, and that's three missions, each has their own thick book of entries. That you're as you're scrolling through to try and find that number, you're like, oh God, are they going to die? Are they going to die? Are they gonna... That all adds to that anticipation as well, which is very,
Yeah.
very cool.
The story element is excellent. It is written so well.
It
It
is.
tells a very good story and it's really engaging.
Hmm.
So I played two missions solo, 0 and 1, and then 2 and 3 with you. And I like solo player games. I've been working my way through different solo players. This one, I think you want to play with someone else
I
for
think I
that
agree.
engagement in the story. However, I wouldn't play it with more than two, possibly three people.
I th Yeah, I think two would be a sweet spot, really,
Two feels really
because
good.
it's just the decisions are not so complicated, right? And you don't want to have a debate over everyone, otherwise it would just really slow it down. So I think just working with one other person to have a bit of, okay, what do you think? And try and explain why you want to do stuff and then what ideas they have and so on. I think that's the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for the two of us, I think because we're very similar in the way we potentially approach things.
Yeah.
Actually, there weren't meant too many times, but what we kind of did was we discussed decisions, but we then alternated. So if we had a discrepancy, it was like, right,
Yeah.
well, Tom picked option A last time, so if we're not sure, then I get to pick what we're doing in this particular entry.
Mm,
And that worked great because then you've not got one person kind of quarterbacking
exactly.
the whole thing, and you're just going from there. So yeah, it was great.
And just come back to the skill checks. I don't know how much we need to talk about this. I think most people who've played a board game understand that concept, but it is a big part of the way in which you're doing this as you're going through. You will have character skills in a variety of different traits. There was technical, shooting, influence, and one other one that escapes me at the moment. Um,
So
Stealth. And you'll do checks at various times based on individuals, particularly in the encounters, for example, it will do that, but actually it will also do add it up all together. And so you'll have, what is the stealth rating of your entire team, or what is it from the people who are in that position for that encounter, something like that. You can also then you'll have tokens that you'll collect through the game as well that you can use to expend on certain missions, skill checks, sorry, as you're going through that you might just effectively think about it like a reroll or something like that almost, or um, dice modifier. And you're also going to have a little bit of equipment as you're going through as well. So you will be able to give your characters certain kit that will help them in the particular mission you're going to do. And there also is a bit of variety there. There are stuff that we didn't actually see, I don't think, all the way through. So it's a quick question for you is that this is a game that really enjoyed playing through for you, the four missions. Would you play it through again? Is there enough interest there for you? What would you recommend for people out there if they're thinking about this? Is it play it through once or play it through two, three times to see all the different elements to it? What do you think?
I think for those people that are completionist,
Right, maybe it comes down to that.
playing it through a couple of times, and if you play the three missions as a campaign, you can play them individually.
Yeah,
Um, I don't recommend that because I felt attached to my characters, so I would be preventing them from dying. But if you were like, oh, well, as long as I get to the end of the mission, it's fine.
yeah.
Maybe that's more on me. Um, so for those that are completionist, yes, I I considered once completing it. because I wouldn't play it again by myself.
Right.
So I considered whether I was going to hang on to this game or not. But actually, I've got some friends who would enjoy that kind of material, aren't necessarily heavy board gamers, but if we met up for dinner or something one night, actually might be something that they would enjoy
I'd get
doing.
on with that. Yeah. Okay.
And in which case you can then just, I think in my head I'd be playing it as the three missions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so yeah, I think because you kind of know how the storyline goes and what you're then trying to do, for me that doesn't appeal to play it again solo, but
Mm.
I would 100% play that with friends, and maybe I'd take more of a GM kind of role.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. I think certainly enough there to warrant playing it again.
Yeah,
There's different avenues, right? It's one of the things that's most impressive about this, and talk some more about this in a moment. But the way in which this has been created to have those weaving threads that reach different conclusions is always quite incredible with this, really. And I think for me, it's one that I will move on, but it's not really for any other reason than I don't think I'll get around to playing it again for quite a long time. I think
yeah.
there is interest there, but I think I just need to move it on to create some space and just think about other stuff. But I don't want that to discourage anybody. It's great. There's a lot there, and as we'll talk about later, it's not actually that expensive, really. We did speak to David Thompson, one of the designers, back on episode 65. Where we do cover quite a bit on War Story and the huge effort that went into designing that game. He spoke about months and months of effort that went into working with Dave Neale on this, as you can imagine, right? For the reasons you're saying about how you, I think it's, I feel like was it him who said this to us that there's almost like a mathematical uh, solution to this. I think maybe another designer maybe said that to us at some point to be able to work out the simplest way to work out how all the threads kind of fit together is basically a mathematical formula. Anyway, smarter than myself to figure that out.
Straight
Um,
over my head.
yeah, but making all those paths work together, it's very impressive. He did also give us the indication that this series could have a future, and with others in the series titled War Story, enter subtitle text here, which is also very exciting. You listen back to episode 65, listen and see if
Yeah.
you think we're right about that one. Quickly on the art and theme, it feels very thematic, I think, and the art really suits. Don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think the artwork's brilliant. It it's immersive. I mean, to the point that when your agents take wounds, you flip them over and then there's like kind of a blood dripping off of the card. Not in a gory way, it's absolutely fine. I mean,
Yep.
but but it looks really good. It's very, very impressive, very well done. And the other thing I love about this game I haven't touched on is there's no dice in it.
Yep.
Everything is done by choice. So you can't get ruined by rolling a dodgy one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It,
it's very much choice led. It's
it's the
very much
choices. Yeah.
decision led. And your people, when you get onto the like a battle map, as it were, you've got cubes and sort of little they look like little bowling pin type shape
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
characters
Yeah.
rather than meeples, but they can go on the board really clear, really easy to work out what's what. And yeah, I just love this. I think it is worth saying it is hard. It's
Yep.
it's not an easy game,
Yep.
but you wouldn't want it to be an easy game.
No, no, I don't think so. It needs to, I think, particularly solitaire games, I always like them to be, and therefore I think a bit cooperative as well. They need to be really challenging, right, to be
Yeah.
a really good game. So yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And I think the Osprey thing just brings it together beautifully in the production quality of what you're looking at. It's quite simple, but it's done really well. It's yeah, very good, very good.
So
Uh,
so price. I reckon,
Price,
yeah.
yeah. So it is one that if this is sounding like your cup of tea, you can pick it up from our friends over at Chaos Cards right now, chaoscards.co.uk, for £34.95, which does feel pretty good, I think,
I
as a
think so.
price.
For what you've got, and to be honest, for the amount of hours that have gone into this game, it must be like one of the lowest paid hourly rates for creating a
Yeah, for sure, for
for,
sure.
for
They do it
creating.
for the love, though, don't they? There's no,
Of course, but
as
there is so much content.
every designer has told us so far that we've spoken to, you don't get into board games to make your fortune, do you?
No,
Do it for the love. And worth mentioning at this time as well, as we're talking about Chaos Cards, that the month this episode is out in July 2025, you can use our discount code IMH1JUL25. So effectively, like I am having my one July 25. So IMH1JUL25 for £5 off when you spend £50 on board games. So a copy of War Story and I don't know, Scout, something like that, and you're there. Uh,
no.
nah,
Sorry,
yeah, absolutely.
I've just bought Nar. I'm holding it up, but it doesn't work.
Can't see the green
Pause
screen's
it.
not working. Yeah.
Very excited about it. So
All the
awesome.
usual stuff about one use per customer and pre-orders being excluded, damaged items being excluded, all that kind of stuff. Check out Chaos Cards. So that brings us to the scores. Paul, how are you scoring War Story Occupied France?
9. Nice and simple. I usually waffle. It's an excellent game.
To the point.
Gets a 9 from me. It's solid. The story is amazing. I said nice and simple to the point, and I'm aware I'm now waffling. But
You got to the score quickly, though. That's the thing. And it's then the
I
waffle game
did.
afterwards.
I did, yeah. Production quality is great. It's really immersive. I had a lot of fun playing this game. So yeah, solid 9 for me.
Yeah, I'm nearly there. 8.5 for me. Very close. It's it's great. Got it pretty much straight away as soon as it was coming out, partly so I could show off to David Thompson when we were interviewing that I bought it. Uh, I did do that absolute nerd thing of holding the box up to him when we were on the call, going, "Oh, I did get it," and we were looking forward to playing this together, and have done so and got a lot from it. So fantastic!
That
Brings us.
gives us a podcast
Oh, go
score
on. Oh yeah.
8.75 because we're doing podcast scores now.
Podcast score 8.75. That's what we're on.
There we
So
go.
pretty high. We enjoy it. We haven't got Seb on to bring it down to like 6 with his like 2 out of 10. Actually, I think
Or he'll give it 11.
Seb would love this, I think. Uh,
Anyway, sorry, this isn't the shipping forecast.
that's all right. Maybe we should do one of those. Right then, Paul. That is just about the end of episode 80. But before we go, there is just time to announce the winner of our air, land, and sea draft from last time. Exciting. If you're not sure what this is about, what we're talking about, have a listen to last episode, episode 79, where we ran a board game draft to find the best 3 games that adhere to the categories of air, land, and sea. So we put this out on, yeah, something for the YouTube there. Yeah. We put this out on social media a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, and with the deepest regret, I am delighted, Paul, to tell you that you won the draft with your wonderful selection of Airflix, A Guest, or a Bird, and Captain Sonar. Well done, well done, well done, well done, well
Oh,
done.
there you go.
I don't know
Thank
if
you.
my mic will pick up this clapping, but I'm clapping right now. Uh, I'm fairly sure. I mean, I'm not saying that Airflix and Guest and Robin Hood are not great games. So I'm sure Captain Sonar won that for you. That is would be
No
the one.
bias.
The other two are a little bit niche, so but anyway, whatever. The people have spoken. Uh, but well done, well done, well done. And listener, check out future episodes for another of our board game drafts. They're always entertaining and sometimes have some unorthodox selections. That just about wraps us up. So until next time, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Give us a rating or a review. Check out Chaos Cards. Tell a friend. and have a ruddy good time in whatever gaming you've got on the horizon. Bye.
I'm having my one.
Welcome to episode 80 of the Board Game Podcast. I'm having my one. My name is Tom. Forgot my name.
You hadn't even got to podcast. My
Welcome.
name is
My
what?
name is. Yeah, someone could sample that.